Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is your weekly oracle card reading. And for this reading, I'm using the Goddess Guidance Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. Okay, so I'm going to draw 3 cards. Okay, each card is going to represent a different portion of the upcoming week. I'm just gonna get my cards organized here. Okay, so the first card is going to represent Monday and Tuesday. Let me just zoom out here. Okay, so we've got Maeve, and she is all about cycles and rhythms. And this card says, honor the cycles of your body, energy levels, and emotions. Okay, so we're entering the week, and the challenge here is to know where you are energy-wise, know where you are energy-wise. Now, you can do this, I mean, if you're a woman and you have a menstrual cycle, this is pretty easy to kind of figure out in a lot of ways, because depending on where you are in your cycle, you know, it's going to be, your energy levels are going to be quite different. And another way to do this is to look at the cycles of the moon. So a lot of people find that when it's a full moon, they have a lot of energy. And this is also a time that a lot of women ovulate, and typically energy levels tend to be higher then. And if it's kind of like a dark moon, a new moon, energy levels tend to be low. And as the moon builds up, you know, energy tends to rise, and you get to the full moon, and then as that moon wanes, energy kind of starts to drop until you get to, you know, no moon, or you know, a dark moon. So where I'm going with this is that it's important, I think, to honor where you're at. I think so many times, you know, like our whole life and our society is set up in such a way that people are expected to perform like machines, like the same day in and day out. You know, you have this schedule where, you know, I think most people probably have like a regular schedule that doesn't change according to the seasons or the lunar cycle or your menstrual cycle. You know, you're expected to just kind of plow through life, you know, full tilt, regardless of what's going on. And that's so ridiculous and unrealistic. So this is about kind of coming back to yourself and honoring, you know, where you're at. And I do that for myself in all kinds of ways. So when I know my energy is really high, I'll, you know, plan to do more social things then. I'll clean my house, I'll do more cooking, you know, I'll make use of that energy, I'll work out harder, faster and longer. And when my energy levels are starting to drop off, that's when I'll, you know, do a more gentler yoga practice, or I'll, you know, take more time for myself. I'll go to bed earlier. You know, I'll try to shut down my computer at, you know, 6 or 7 rather than, you know, 10 or 11 at night or later. So there's all kinds of ways that you can honor the cycles and rhythms within your body. And I think you'll find that when you start to do that, you actually become more productive, more mentally balanced, you know, you just feel better, you're healthier. Okay, so Wednesday and Thursday, we've got Vesta. She is the goddess of the home. And this card says, your household situation is improving, either through a move or a healthy change in the occupants. So the middle of the week is all about kind of hearth and home. And if you've been having any kinds of you know, difficulties or stressful situations, this is a nice card to get, because it's kind of letting you know that everything is kind of working itself out, and you're going to be seeing some positive changes in your home situation. But I feel like the real message here is that a lot of our happiness, our health, and our power comes from our home and how we feel in that home. And so this is something to kind of consider. Ask yourself, do you like where you live? You know, do you like the location of where you live, the town or the city, the country? You know, do you like the actual building that you live in? You know, do you like living with the people you're living with, or if you live alone, do you like that? Or, if you have pets, there's so many things that can make a home. Is there a lot of light in your home? Is it warm? Is it, too cold? Is it damp? What are your surroundings like? And notice how your home makes you feel. And you'll know this whenever you've been gone all day and you come home. Does it feel like you're coming home to a safe haven where you can, be cozy and recharge? Or do you feel like the sense of heaviness and dread when you step through the door? I've definitely had the experience of hating where I lived and dreading coming home and totally hating my surroundings. And then I've had the experience of loving where I lived, and that experience of being healed and energized and recharged from my, home life and my surroundings. So this is something to kind of consider this week, is what is your home surroundings like? And if you don't like it, how can you change it? Do you want to move? Or sometimes it's like all you need to do is get a couple plants and, get some new blinds or something, and it can totally change the energy of the space. Okay, so here we have the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we've got Mary Magdalene, and she's all about unconditional love. And this card says, love yourself, others, and every situation, no matter what the outward appearances may be. This actually makes me think of that book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is, and it's about kind of loving your situation, or basically loving what is, whatever is loving that and accepting that. And at first, to me, that concept sounded so obnoxious. Like, I remember when I first heard that, I was just like, oh yeah, right. Like, that just sounded so annoying to me. And but then I read the book and everything. And one thing that really struck me in that book, which this card kind of reminds me of a little bit, is, and I can't remember if it was that book or if it's another book of hers, but she says something about how we create hell for ourselves when we think that the situation that we're in, that things are not as it should be. So, for example, if you're in a restaurant and you order a meal and you're eating it and you're thinking, oh, if only this meal was not so salty, or oh, I wish I'd ordered the other thing. Or, oh, there's too much cheese on this, or whatever. Like, that is how the mind creates discomfort and basically hell for itself, is by doing those things. And if you can change how you look at something and how you see it, and just kind of love it for what it is, it can change your experience of life, and it can be very powerful. So I think that this card, the Mary Magdalene card of unconditional love, is about really loving what is, and instead of viewing the world through this lens of this is good, this is bad, or I like this, or I don't like this, or this person sucks, or this person's great, looking at things through a different lens, and instead just looking at something for what it is, and seeing each thing as like a gift from the universe, and like, oh, this is what the universe is serving up for me right now, today. Interesting. And even if you hate it, and you can't imagine like loving it, at least look at it with interest and be like, huh, this is interesting. Like, this is what the universe has cooked up for me today. I wonder what that's about. I'm gonna kind of sit with this and observe it rather than judge it as bad. So that's just what kind of popped into my head when I looked at this card. Okay, so I'm gonna take a quick step back here, and I want to invite you to share any insights you've had while looking at these cards. When you look at these cards together, is there one card that pops out for you? Is there one card that feels more powerful than the other two? And what card really speaks to you, and what does that card say when it speaks to you? And I think it's easy with this deck because, there's the goddesses on each deck, and I think it's sometimes easy to have an imaginary conversation with the goddesses. So what card speaks to you, and what does it say? And feel free to share. If you want to share, feel free to share in the comment section below. So this has been your weekly oracle card reading, and my name is Kate. You can find out more about me and about learning tarot and oracle card reading on my website, dailytarotgirl.com.